On this episode of Work It, we talk about how to look for opportunities and expand your network.
Interesting.
Welcome back.
Where are some of the, where should job seekers start looking for places that are advertising for, that's a long way of saying it. Where should candidates start looking for opportunities?
Me?
Sure.
Did I? I don't know. So where should they start looking for jobs? They should start looking online, obviously. Narrow down what industry they want to be in. And then I would say start going after target companies. Do your research, find out, even if there's not a job posting, you want to join their talent pool. So cater your resume to that, your line of business or whatever, submit to the talent pool, go into job boards. You can go to job boards. The problem with job boards are, unless you've done your resume to match the job description, it's going to be very difficult for you to get seen by somebody. A lot of times there is some sorters. HR, hiring managers are doing a quick glance. They're getting, I think,
they're looking for like 5 to 6
keywords aligning with what they're looking for. So I know you may think, oh, I have transferable skills. I think that could work. Very, very likely that you're not going to get spoken to unless you know somebody. The next thing I would say is go to your network, go to your family, go to your friends, go to your alumni and network that way. Let them know that you're on the market for a job, because the old adage is you got to know somebody to get a job, and never quit your job until you get another job.
I was in my head the whole time you were talking about saying network, because I don't think people utilize their network enough to be looking. Like, we're always talking to people in our roles too, and we're asking them, if this isn't for you, maybe somebody in your network is looking for a role similar to this. You might be happy where you are, but anybody else, any of your net, and that's where I think people don't utilize their network enough. So
Can I just say one thing on that?
And then when people reach out to you,
go to recruiters. Recruiters, unless they're in-house talent acquisition for the company. And
don't go to recruiters.
If you're just looking for a job and you see you're connected to a recruiter, chances are that recruiter probably is not going to be able to help you immediately. You might be able to go into their talent pool, which is totally fine. But to be like, hey, I sell cars and I see that you have a design job up. I'd like to apply. It's not helping you.
It goes back to even the last segment we were talking about with career. Make them realistic with your career goals, because so often we will put a posting out, or we have something where somebody will reach out to us on a field that they're completely not related for, but in their mind they think, well, I sell cars, I can sell, or I can design houses. So that goes back to the earlier topic. Just make them realistic.
network wise, I think that you have to be very mindful of the type of connections that you're making. If you're making connections on LinkedIn just so that you can get in front of somebody to say, hey, can you hook me up with a job? You have to engage with them a few times first, and actually so that they know who you are, or have a conversation with them before you start putting in those pieces.
Oh, when I talk about network, I'm not saying just go to your LinkedIn network. The people that you in.
I get that a lot though.
I get it. For sure.
Yeah.
But when I'm giving advice to somebody going out to look, talk to the people that you work with. Hey, do you know anybody that's looking? Do you know putting it out in that, or adding open to work on your thing when you're working for another company? Those are no-nos.
I would also say that if you look to your network at the people that you are inspired by, as in what you want to become, and ask them if there's places, or even have an exploratory conversation about how did you start, or where did
mentorship. Yeah. Getting that mentor.
Look for that, and that is probably going to be a better call than me.
And leaders that are watching this, be open to that. Be open to people reaching out to you as part of their career development.
I don't think the younger people are actually used to going out to get mentoring, especially because they're coming from, think of somebody who's inexperienced, who's just coming from school, and they're used to having professors, TAs come to them and say, what do you need? This is how you do it, etc., etc. Whereas in real world, it's the other way around. You're the one that has to go out and say, I need help with this. I want to do this, but I don't know how to get there. Can you help me get there? You got to go find the people that will actually help you. And there's many of them. Over the last year, I've met so many people that actively mentor, or actively seeking to mentor people.
Oh.
So
that's a funnel we should add.
Yes.
Yes,
and
segment 7.
Afternoon conversation.
But to what you were talking about then, so how do you stand out? How does a candidate stand out in a crowded job market right now? What can they do to...
Be authentic about what it is that your wants is. If you really align yourself with somebody that you want to mentor with, that is a really great way for you to get into a door somewhere, because then you get noticed. And it shows somebody that you are willing to learn from somebody else. That's a great skill to have, and that is a quality that you would want in somebody that you were trying to hire on whatever position. That you're asking questions, that you're genuinely inquisitive about how it is that they got to the roles that they've gotten to. Then yeah, like those are things that will set you apart. Because I have enough people telling me how great they are. My God, let me tell you how many conversations I've had that I just want to hang up on and be like, oh, thank you so much for telling me how wonderful you are. I really appreciate that. Cool.
We asked this earlier, we talked about it, but what is the role of recruiters in this kind of process? You said don't just reach out to a recruiter to solve your needs because they're not necessarily going to be able to help you at that point. But what is the role in helping candidates find jobs?
Look for a CDP instead, I would say, if you don't know, if you are in the entry stages of your career. So like a career development professional will help you be able to map out what it is that you want to accomplish and then give you some pointers on it. So maybe you need upgrading on some skills, which means that you're going to have to go to class for this and that thing, or a little workshop so that you can get a certificate in something. They can help you align that way. When you're done all of that,
channel too.
stay tuned because that is actually happening.
Okay.
I'm getting my CDP.
Oh, great.
So,
wow. All right, segment 37.
Call me captain.
So it will be another channel later on.
Nice.
But
National Headhunters, ahead of our time. Sorry, go ahead.
But that's the thing, though. Even if you look into recruitment agencies now, there's so many of them that are going out of business because they're stuck doing business the way that they have always been doing business.
Yeah.
It is like any other. We are not immune to economic downturn. So it's just like any other business. You've got to divest your talent and do other things and also adapt to what's going on with the times. AI will affect us.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So 100%.
Yeah.
It cuts down our search time a lot with things like Quill and some ATSs that are automated, all of that. So like
spots, yeah.
So there's so many things that where once a recruiter was indispensable. Now, what are we going to do to differentiate ourselves for one? But for two, how do we support? And this is one of the things where, yes, I love that we are moving into these other spaces because I think that is when we can, yes, we are a recruitment agency first and foremost, but if we have all these other avenues where we can help fill it out, those are also different avenues that they can reach out to us for.
Yeah, sure. So how can job seekers use informational interviews to explore different career options?
Oh, great. Don't go into an interview just waiting to be interviewed and then waiting for an interviewer to ask you questions. Whenever I prep anybody for an interview, I always tell them, like, okay, have 3 questions right off the bat that you need to be able to ask and genuinely want to find some information about.
Right.
Great. Things like, what's the average tenure of an employee at your company? Can you give me an example of somebody who has developed over the course of their career in your company? Those are really great indicators about whether or not you're going to have growth opportunities within that company, right?
Yep.
So if you're not asking those questions and you're just waiting to be interviewed during your interview, you're losing out on a lot of information that can be given to you.
For sure. And knowing who you're interviewing
Do your
with.
homework.
Do your homework. Understand what the job is. Understand who the key players are. One really good question to ask your interviewer is, what successes have you seen within the brand? How do you relate your work-life balance to the culture here and that kind of stuff? Because that is a big... Culture is not one of my favorite words, but...
It's mine. Yeah.
We're going to edit that part out.
Well,
She
no,
loves
it's
culture.
not. Because culture is it's relative to
That one bit, it's
who
not
you're
universal.
speaking. No,
Yeah.
it's not.
Yeah.
So what's good culture to one person is, some people need to be in their office and they need to have that manager oversee and give them tasks related, where another person is a self-starter and wants to be able to go for walks at lunch and be able to do their tasks. So culture is very, very person specific. Interview. So one of the questions that they ask when you're talking about information is relaying what experience you have into the job,
You're applying for.
into that's a really important piece.
Yeah, I think you're right. And then what are some of the red flags that you need to watch for through job hunting? What would you consider red flags?
Oh my God, I've had so many. I had a guy.
Bots.
Sure, that's definitely one now, but like
Bots?
I went
Oh.
automated.
Fraud.
Oh.
Automated anything. But I've had an interviewer ask me what my cultural background was and all sorts of personal questions, and I was just like, and this was I was set up with a recruiter, and so I could not get out of that interview fast enough because it was so creepy. I'll tell you who it is afterwards.
Sorry.
Not our client. Soon to be our client.
But I couldn't get out of that interview fast enough because it was so inappropriate, and I was just like, what did you just send me into? Like,
Was it an older man that was doing the interview?
It wasn't. Like, they were the same age, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Inappropriate questions, personal questions, anything asking about your family life. I know some people, like I've been asked
Asked me how many brother or what my sibling situation
Yeah.
what show background was, and I was like, why does this feel like a first date and you're trying to get to know who I am?
Well, and I think that's part of
like not
educating the clients in
The
terms
client,
of
yeah.
the questions that they should be asking for all of those reasons. Clients can get as nervous as candidates in interviews and have it go sideways. I've been on calls where I'm like, wow, trying to bring it back, or when we're part of the interview. Not all clients are able to master that part too. So it's working that side of it as well to avoid circumstances like that. But from a candidate standpoint, for sure, that's a huge red flag. And scene.
And scene? Wow. Good job, dude.